Freehold or leasehold, which one is the better option for property investors?
One gives you full control, the other one can be cheaper up front, but there's a catch.
In this video, we're going to break down the pros and cons, the hidden cost, and what strategy works better based on your goals.
So let's quickly define what they both are so that we're all on the same page.
So freehold means you own the property and the land that it sits on.
Leasehold means that you own the property but not the land that it sits on. So you're basically renting the land that it sits on from the freeholder for a set period of time. With leasehold, you'll typically pay ground rent, service charges, and there can be restrictions on what you can do with the property.
So first of all, let's break down the pros and the cons for freehold properties. So the pros are you've got full control over the property, there's no service charge or ground rent, there's better resale value, and there's no lease expiry or stress when it comes to renewals. So let's break down the cons. There's two main ones. So the first one is typically the property is more expensive up front. And the second one is all the maintenance and responsibilities fall on you 100% because you're the owner.
Okay, so now... Okay, so now let's break down the pros and cons of leasehold. So firstly, the pros. Normally cheaper entry point. It's common in city flats, so it's more accessible. And lastly, there's shared building maintenance. Now this can be a bit of a pro or a bit of a con, depending. Me personally, I'd like to have full responsibility of that sort of thing and not have to rely on anything else, but some people prefer it and would class it as a pro. Now let's go through the cons. There's extra ongoing costs like service charges and ground rent. So there can be some restrictions on what you can do with the property. For example, like doing rent to rent or subletting in there or renovations, stuff like that. If the lease gets too short, it can be unmortgageable or, harder to sell. And lastly, lease extensions are expensive.
You bored yet? Click unsubscribe.
So now let's break down what we prefer as property investors. So when we're looking at property, we want long-term capital growth and we want full control. So that's why we lean more towards freehold properties.
Now, I know a lot of people that are smashing it, doing the leasehold sort of flats. And what they do is they'll buy it when the lease is too short to even mortgage it. So what they'll do is they'll buy it, they'll extend the lease, which ups the value by a lot, and then they remortgage. That strategy does really work, but when you're buying leasehold properties, there's certain things that you need to look out for. Always check the lease length, the service charges, and who's managing it.
You can get into these properties a lot cheaper, but it might not always be a good deal. So you always want to check exactly how long's left on the lease and how much the service charge is, because if you're paying like £2,000 a year in service charge, then it might kill out all your profit. So with leasehold properties, the main thing that lenders look at is how long's left on the lease. So anything around 80 years or less is usually a red flag.
Most lenders won't lend on a property that has 70 years or less on the lease. You'll have to extend it, and that can cost tens of thousands of pounds. So when you're making offers on properties, especially leasehold, you need to check how long's left on the lease. That's a really important thing to check.
So what is better for investors? You tell me.
So there's no one size fits all with this or no right or wrong answer. Me personally, I prefer freehold. If you just want simplicity, long-term growth, stuff like that, freehold is the way to go. If you want entry level, in city centres, that's more affordable for cash flow reasons, then leasehold might be the best thing for you to do, but make sure you do your homework.
So I hope you found that helpful. If you actually want property deals sent straight to your WhatsApp for free every single day, click the link and join our free WhatsApp community where we post out deals. Anything from buy, refurbish, refinance properties, HMO deals, rent to rent deals, service accommodation deals, you name it.
Big boy flips, we got those too.
Got flips too. Click the link in the description, subscribe.